Hang on 1 second. All right. JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. Friday, October 24th, 324 in this fine afternoon talk. Quick about the market. Some names I'm looking at go from the SP in the green, up nearly 1% as I speak here. Spies at 678.37 on the heels of the cooler than expected CPI data. Oh my gosh, what a remarkable, well, it sets my sarcasm. But anyway, not much here to talk about. Obviously, market's going to close at all-time highs pending any shenanigans. And then next week is the Mag 5, right? So we have big earnings. Five of the Mag 7 names will report. Trillions of dollars in market cap on the line. And the great circle jerk continues. Sense my sarcasm. Some nice little charts here. First, let's see. Why don't I have this here? Just it's it kind of shows you the state of what's going on with the economy and stuff. Like if you tie any of your untethered from the market, right? If you just use your political bias or what have you, and this happens with every 4 years, every whatever term, every policy decision, it's very easy to let that get into your trading bias, right? Because if you're from one party to the other, you probably, I mean, hopefully, if you're an American or there's people from other countries here, so I understand that. But you root for your country, right? So that's the one side of it too. But like it's just human nature. Like me, try to use a sports analogy. Like I can't read. I can't. It's hard for me to root for a team I don't like, especially if if they're in the division or whatever. So same with the political stuff. Like to me, I don't understand how some folks trade this market when they are biased against what the current administration or administrations before were. It's got to be hard, right? Especially with the tariffs and everything else going on. So I thought these were great charts because to me, it's like you just got to disconnect yourself from all the headlines and everything because the last little chart here, and I forget one of the ARC people, one of Kathy Wood's counterparts, posted on Twitter. I thought it was great, and Reddit just broke through. Please, Reddit, keep going. 217 today. The non-consensus view is typically the right one, whether against, for, whatever, and that's more times than not. And then you take a look at the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index, and it depends what political bias you have on how bad your consumer confidence is, right? How funny is same prices, right? I mean, if you're in a state and you're doing the surveys, the same people are shopping the same stores with the same prices, but one side thinks the prices are not good, and the others think it is good. So again, a lot of it's tied in by, but to me, it just again it goes with the markets. Like, how can you be bullish on some of these names if you can't pull your bias away? So anyway, I thought that was a great little piece there. Non-consensus, it's always not always right, but it helps you steer clear of all the fear, uncertainty, doubts. Yeah, I mean, Tesla's a great example of just the market itself. If you don't, yeah. All right, rants for other days. Don't have time here. It's 33 minutes to close. Let me talk quick about the markets here. SPY talking about 675 being possible resistance. We gapped above that this morning. And then, the low, 675 and change. So it did serve a purpose. And then we've been chopping around for the rest of the day. So good stuff, all things considered. I posted kind of like a joke. Hopefully there's no tweets between now and the close. We've had that. I mean, 2 Fridays ago, all chaos broke loose when we had that big spat with China. And, we had that, yesterday afternoon with Canada. Funny, it's like the market's shrugging some of that off now, which is good. At some point, we're going to be back to some kind of pull. But for now, I mean, we're getting through September and October, and you take a look at, we have a week left here in October, and September, October, traditionally, historically speaking, not the best performing months, and we're going to have monster months of performance. So, and then we're talking about 2 more months in a year, and so, all things. Think of, I mean, it seems like eons ago, everybody was talking about DeepSeek, right? DeepSeek was going to be the thing that destroyed AI and the pricing power of NVIDIA and all that, and then it's like no one talks about it anymore. It's just funny how that all. You always got to think of these little examples of events that have happened over the years where everybody thought that, you in the midst of that happening, that day we're selling off and everybody's, oh my gosh, in the midst of it happening, all those headlines hit. People use that as a way to, capitalize, getting the clicks and what have you. All right. Let me just check my Reddit because at some point I might have to close them out while I'm on here. All right, so that's overall market. Now, just quick on individual names. So, I mean, you take a look at SanDisk, just crazy stuff today. Earlier in the week, was it Tuesday, Wednesday, when we had the pull and SanDisk was kind of holding up, and I still had the calls. I'm like, do I close them out and revisit? Do I hold them? Thankfully I had to lock some in on Monday, so I was riding freebie. So I held them because To me, you look at SanDisk, and I posted on Monday, it's not apples to apples with Micron, but it trades 3 times revenues. Micron 7 times revenues. It has 10 plus percent growth, and it's a spinoff of Western Digital, so it doesn't really have a full year of data of financial performance and all that under its belt, publicly financial performance, in the public view. So to me, it could which leave an opportunity for price discovery and wild moves. And take a look at yesterday, up 14%, 11% today. No news, no catalyst, just crazy stuff. And when those type of moves happen, it makes for serious multi-baggers. So the plan was this morning, and it's Friday option expiration. We could have had horrible CPI data, and the market could tank. So for me, when I see an option that's up nearly 1,000% at the open, I'm going to take the rest off. Especially, it's not like it's a Monday or Tuesday, right? Where we have time. I don't have time. Things can happen. So rationalize it. And once I made that decision to do it, it's not that you can't cry over it after it starts going. And once I close them out, I'm like, oh, now it's going to go to 180. And sure enough, here it is at 185. The calls I locked out at $12 for nearly 1,000%. They're $20-something right now. I don't even want to look. I was looking earlier, but early in the week, do I lock them in to get the 190s for next week? And they were only like $1.20 earlier. Now they're, I don't know if they're 15 now. I don't even want to look. But to me, it's like, for me, I'm not going to try and time it anymore. I'm done with SanDisk unless the premiums really come out of the calls and puts. Maybe it goes over 200, maybe it goes to 300. Who knows? But great trade, locked it in, and that's that. All right, so that's SanDisk. And then just some other names here today. And iRobot, I just talked about earlier. iRobot, and I could post some crazy trades on iRobot back in COVID when we had a huge short squeeze. The stock was like $98 on the day I got the calls, or the day before. I got the 105 calls, and then 4 days later, iRobot's trading at $200. I got the calls to like 40 or 50 cents. So let's say you got 10 of those contracts. I got to go back and look. The 105 strikes, $500 into $95,000 in 4 days. Just crazy stuff. So when I look at iRobot, some of these names you see me trade over the years, it's like, not that I use that as an excuse to get in or whatever, but I have a history with them. So, and a lot of these names I know like the back of my hand, the fundamentals, the technicals, the short interest, history, historical performance, all that. So it makes it easy to get in and out of some of these trades. So some of these I don't have on the watch list in the morning, not because I don't pay attention to them, but the plan wasn't this morning to get the iRobot calls. But I've been watching the last couple of weeks, especially with the short interest names going. The open in the summer, then recently, we have the Beyond Meat going. So at some point, these sympathy moves, and got the flower 1-800-Flowers early in the week on that premise. Thankfully, I knew about the story. If I didn't know about that story, I wouldn't have gotten into calls and made the money. So here's iRobot. There's the big story now with iRobot is you had the Amazon deal. They were going to buy it for $100. Then they worked the deal. It was like $80. And then the deal got nixed by the EU, right? So because of that, iRobot was sitting all pretty, thinking things are great. We're going to get bought up by Amazon. And they went and did a deal with Carlyle. And Carlyle Group did like a bridge loan to get them through until the Amazon deal closed. So it was like a $200 million, like crazy, like, okay, we know we're going to close on this deal. Let's make it the best deal possible for Carlyle Group. Like horrible terms for iRobot. And then sure enough, the deal falls apart. And now iRobot's on the hook for this. And so because of that, it's like this big overhang. And not only that, big boost in the COVID era, but now there's competitive concerns. And, to me, I always looked at it as a robot play, right? And some of the issue was the founder and CEO. He was kind of like probably not the best CEO for a publicly traded company, but maybe he's a good inventor and good, intellectual property kind of person. So now you have a new person came in. I forget where he came from. But anyway, so some of that I thought would be a turnaround story. Doesn't look like that's bearing fruit, at least not yet. So then you have on their filings, you always get that going concern thing that hits the filings. Or you always see stocks sell off on that when that little wording comes into filings. Say, oh, we have a going concern that their possibility might go bankrupt, which is pretty much like companies. You have to do that, especially when they're in a spot where, it's a possibility. It's a small, probably minuscule possibility. But then recently, I guess this week or last week, the CFO came on, talked a little bullish on the company. I don't know. But anyway, I don't want to go on too much of a rant, but to me, I look at his name, it still has a 30% short interest. You look at the chart. To me, it can get back to $10 and not be anything great. It trades less than 1 times revenue. So anyway, so I had those lottos, spec trade. If there's follow through Monday, maybe I'll look for some more because it could be one of those names that catches fire. So that's the iRobot. Disappointing to see NKLR just fading to even with some of the other names that have been beaten up this week, just taking on the chin. So, I mean, it's only down 4%, sitting here at $9. I'll continue to hold those spec calls. Gold, which was tumbling before the open, reverse course on the CPI data. But dust is back in the green, and gold has kind of found pressure here into the afternoon. So I'll still hold my GL calls and dust calls into next week. And that's about it. I mean, I put this on the watch list too. Serve. I'm not going to sit here and try and time the tops and bottoms on serve, so I'll just continue to hold the calls I have there. And I think that's it. I'm trying to think of some of these. Just IBM, right? I don't know if I wrote this on yesterday's watch list or today's. This might be the earnings season. There was a lot of names that have, not a lot, but some of these names that have posted monster reports and open lower and then reverse course. Tesla was yesterday. IBM almost went to the green yesterday, but then take a look at IBM today. It's $42 off its lows from yesterday at the open. And I was looking at the 275 calls yesterday morning. The stock was at 264. And the 275s with 1 day to expiration were like $1.40. I'm like, I'm not paying $1.40 on pretty much a lotto trade. So I passed, and then sure enough, the rest is history, and those are $25. But maybe that's kind of like the trades are going to happen this going into the end of the year. Some of these names are so far off the bottom and have up so much. Like you take a look at Netflix, right? I mean, the stock's up 40% this year, posted a great quarter, and it sells off. So is that, and Netflix is down here. So, anyway, all right, let's have a great weekend, folks. I'll be back rock and roll.